everybody. It's Monday.
I was about to be like, what? That's not right, but it is. And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And you know, the funny thing is there's holidays coming up. There's all kinds of things going on this week. And I think in years past, we may have even squeaked out a Thanksgiving episode, but I think this year we're going to be traveling. And the request was for this week to do Monday. So we are. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and a special day has some special things in store for you. So hang on till the end of the show because we might have some free things to give away at the end.
I'm looking forward to that. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, one of the things that we normally do is start with a fishing report. And the fun thing is that we do still have actually a fishing report. So I know at this point in the year, a lot of people have winterized their boats, and that really depends on where you are at in kind of the ice belt. Can we start calling it that? Is it close enough to ice season? But that is truly what's happening, is that transition to ice. So I've seen all the way, was it North Dakota, people have been ice fishing, and that's kind of really exciting to see that starting to come. But I've heard a lot of snow in places like Minnesota, and so I think we're gonna, I don't know, that can sometimes be good, sometimes not, right, depending on if there's ice or not yet. But here we had actually a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, it started out kind of slow. Well, it didn't start out slow. We were back at where we had been fishing the weekend before, found some fish. It was, it was fine. Decided to try and do some bigger water for the last trip of the year, and we kind of spent 2 hours driving around, didn't even see a fish.
We honestly didn't even mark a fish.
So then we pulled the boat and went to plan B, and we did okay.
So actually plan B was moved to the third lake for the weekend. So Saturday we went out, like Josh said. Sunday we hit 2 different lakes. But the funny thing is when we got to lake number 2, we had very high hopes. And as we were driving around, honestly, we were having a hard time still finding fish. And that was unusual. Like, where did all the fish go? But the funny thing is right before we were going to call it quits. I don't know if we were that close or not, but kind of towards the evening, and we finally stumbled upon, I don't know, it's not where every fish in the lake was hanging out, but we stumbled upon a really great place where we found some crappies, we found some walleyes, we found a perch, a smallie, a whole bunch of everything was there. And so this is one of those situations where, you don't always just hear in spring, but like match the hatch or match the bite or match the forge, whatever that is, because it seemed like when we had the right bait on, it could have been one of anything.
Yeah. We were just hitting windblown points and some deeper transition areas, found a little bit of structure, but I really don't think the structure really had that much due to it. I think it was mostly the topography, and that structure happened to be in a good spot for that day. And I think our just not finding fish was not because not because the fish weren't there. I think the electronics always have struggle a little bit with panfish, especially. I just think everything was just so spread out and on the bottom. And when that happens, like it's hard. You just have to pick spots, fish it for a little bit. And it was just a little chilly for that. So I didn't want to hunker down too much. We were just trying to move around, and it was hard. So yeah, it was a fun day. We got some little minnow plastics in the water on Sunday and caught a few fish.
And ultimately that is the point, is to kind of stay on the bite as much as you can going into ice season, because there's a few lakes I will be dying to get out onto, and I know that there are other people dying to do some ice fishing too, because he says a little bit off topic, but a good question. Any vendors selling ice shanties at the Ice Expo? And I know that there will be all kinds of shacks.
And Otter will be there.
Yeah. And I think Eskimo is going to be there. And the nice thing is you have places like Up North Sports, who are awesome retail vendors, partners, whatever. They have all the shacks, whatever kind of shack you want, they will ship it to you. Up North Sports, they're awesome people, and they will be there.
And last thing before we get into it, make sure you share this out and put a comment in the description or in the comments, because if you don't have a comment and you haven't shared this video out, you can't get in on the free stuff we're giving away at the end. So if you're just starting watching this, share it out, put a comment in, just say hi or write a novel. Doesn't matter. And yeah, we'll get on with the show.
But we have lots of awesome stuff coming up to talk about. So if you have questions or comments or things along the way, drop that in there because we would love to talk about that as well. But some of our favorite people to bump into actually the expos are here tonight. So we feel so lucky. Let's bring them in. Bonnie and Darren, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey guys.
Hey,
I was trying to chat with somebody.
you just discovered the chat box.
Yeah, I was over on the screen.
Okay, so I do always find that like chatting back is easier like after the episode. So sorry about that to the people at home if I've ever missed you.
Okay, well, I'll just say thank you, Andrew. We're looking for your 3 fish on the leaderboard.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I guess, well, before we get ahead of ourselves, because I'm excited to talk with you. But our first question is always, we know you, but the people at home might not. So can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and introduce yourselves?
I am Bonnie at FishDonkey, and I am the FishDonkey guru. I probably know about 85% of everything you need to know in FishDonkey. So if you've ever set up a tournament or you've needed tech support, you've probably chatted with me before in the past. So I'm kind of like your concierge of tournament directors. I am a casual angler myself. And now that we are in the fishing industry, I don't get enough time to fish because I'm looking at fish all day long on a computer and helping people with their tournaments. So I don't get to fish as much as I would like to anymore. And we were on a working vacation last week in Colorado, and we saw people on the same body of water fly fishing and ice fishing within about 100 or 200 yards of each other. So
wow.
We are really looking forward to the ice shows where we get to meet our customers and also answer questions that everybody has. It's just such a fun time for us to get to be around customers other than just on a computer screen.
Okay, and I'm Darren, also FishDonkey. Bonnie and I, husband and wife team. We're from Minnesota. I'm from northern Minnesota. Bonnie's originally, I don't know where I'm from now. I'm from the Twin Cities now. Bonnie is also from the Twin Cities. We live down here, and this is a great place for our company to be in Minnesota.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. I'm laughing because you're talking about where you're from, and it's like I have this moment where I always bump into you at the expos. You're just from the expos. Wherever you are, and it's like, oh, that is funny. You are located somewhere, but you are a virtual platform, and so in a weird way, you are kind of everywhere.
Omnipresent.
Yeah. So we did get to go fishing, Bonnie and I, 2 Sundays ago. It's the last time we've been on the water.
Yeah.
And Bonnie caught more fish than I did. Maybe it was about the same number of fish, but Bonnie caught the big ones. We got to fish on the Rainy River, so that was awesome, and they were really biting actually.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
And I had a good selection of fish. What was the one I caught? Moon eye or golden eye?
Oh yeah,
What was that?
She caught a moon eye.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, and a sucker with a couple lampreys on it.
Oh.
Just fat walleyes.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so actually, Bonnie, when you were describing yourself, you called yourself like an average angler or something like that. And I think you even scoffed when you said, casual. That's exactly it. But I loved that because I just think like, first of all, you're on our podcast. So people are like, oh, there's something about you, right? Or like, yeah, for people who know about that, like, man, this is like mastermind by some true sportsman, and then you're over here calling yourself a casual angler. So how does that all come together?
It's hard to compete. How can I possibly think that I could compete with? I mean, the sizable fish that I see every day come through the platform, it's a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of great anglers out there.
Yeah.
So even just this last weekend, I always look on Saturday mornings at the fish that are coming through, and sometimes they're coming faster than others. This is a slower time of year, but there's still big fish coming through. Bay of Quinte up in, is it Canadian? Yeah, it's a Canadian.
It is, yeah.
It's south of here, but it's still Canada. I think the water's wide.
South of
I
the Twin
think it is.
Cities.
Well, so I think eventually, I think it is south of the Twin Cities.
I'm better at geography. He's better at
Oh my gosh.
That
that's so
could be
funny.
true.
That is very
That's-
funny because
that could be true.
in a former life, I sold maps and globes
Yeah.
to school
The
districts.
map lady. Hey, I
I
can't
was the map
compete.
lady.
I can't compete with the map lady.
No.
Okay, so talking about maps and all of this kind of stuff, for people who don't know FishDonkey, I mean, you can like kind of map your catches, right? But this is way more than that. This is like a whole, tell us, I guess, from the beginning, what is FishDonkey?
So FishDonkey is a way to create and run fishing tournaments online, and it prevents cheating. It enables you to enter a fish from any body of water, and we can make sure it's an authentic photograph that you just caught. We have a process we call catch photo video release. We use video to release the fish. You know, it's a live fish. It swam away. It wasn't shared with someone else. We date and timestamp every photo. It's authentic. We can tell exactly at what time you caught it and make sure you're on the correct body of water. That said, we don't share individual anglers' fishing spots. You know, we don't say Emily and Josh nailed the crappies out here on what lake number 2 was it? I don't know what, but we just don't. We don't really look at it. It's just a yes or no type answer. Was the angler inbounds or out of bounds? And that's basically it in a nutshell. We
don't tell the director either.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, nobody knows. But the main thing our company's doing right now is we're enabling immediate catch and release of all tournament fish. So, you know, there's a big problem with delayed mortality in fishing, especially, you know, just getting done with summer. The summer tournaments are the worst for, like, you know, walleyes, even bass, but any species. There's a high mortality rate to tournament fish if you bring them back for a weigh-in. And there's just a bunch of advantages to being able to immediately release a fish back to its natural location. So, you know, I think we're getting closer and closer. The clock is ticking towards all tournaments being catch photo video release.
Mhm.
That is actually a really interesting point. I mean, I think that there is a trend to, you know, people, well, maybe this is my opinion, I guess. I think a lot of times people used to like keep everything, and that's fine. And, you know, as long as you're like within your limits or whatever, we'll do it. But I think, you know, there's a big trend to like catch and release, or like, you know, grow fish in waterways. You know, people are interested in like quality fish, but it's still fun to be a part of like tournaments and stuff. And so this is kind of that great fusion. And so to be able to return a fish right away, I mean, that is so important to keeping waterways healthy.
Yeah, and you know, even in a tournament, so we do some tournaments that are like a pro style where it's one day, and normally they would go back and weigh in the fish, and all of those fish are mostly released with video to prove that they've been released. But we also do, like, we've got some coming up now, the 7 species slam, and you'll be able to go out and fish for 10 days and enter the fish that you want into the slam and keep some for dinner. I mean, you don't have to. You're probably not going to eat your biggest fish anyway. You're probably going to submit your biggest fish into the tournament and then, you know, release it, probably release some other big ones, and then you'll keep a limit and you'll eat fish. So it works both ways.
And then who can set up a tournament?
Anybody can set up a tournament. If there's a director who normally runs a weigh-in tournament and they're thinking about switching to CPR, that person would just download our app and simply tap the button that says set up a tournament and then just follow the prompts. So it's really a 5-minute initial setup just to set up the framework of a tournament. It's very simple. Anybody can do it.
We know it's easy to set up a tournament because sometimes we get people that are trying to join a tournament. And instead they'll set one up. It's crazy. It's just, you know, when enough people join, like they're trying to join the Leech Lake Walleye tournament, and Bonnie will be looking and she's like, hey, I just got another tournament called the Leech Lake Walleye tournament. It's exactly the same as the original. I don't know how they do it.
So I have to pick up the phone and call that person. Like, did you really mean to set up that tournament with the $450 entry fee on the same day as the one that's already going on that day?
Yes.
Oh my
Stuff
God.
you know, I get it. Weird stuff can happen if you're.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're making a really great point that you said, like, man, you might need to call them and like clarify that kind of thing. And so the nice thing about that is that this is not just like some random, like unmanned app, like in Cyberland that just like goes and runs itself and you like hope for the best or something. Like, what I'm hearing is that you, like, as real humans, are on the background of this. And I understand that you have lives too. And so please, like, go on vacation also. But like, you're in those instances checking those tournaments, checking who's doing what, and making sure that they're doing the things that they wanted to do, you know, because that, when I think of FishDonkey, I think of like customer support, customer service. You guys are top notch, and that right there is a perfect example.
Thank you for saying that, Emily, and recognizing that. That's nice. We could be and probably should be.
She works on vacation.
We probably should be more automated, but right now we're not. We're fine.
Like we have a lot of
right now.
We have a lot of help features, but we do also look over every single tournament to make sure it's going to work how the people want it to work.
Yeah.
But that even rings true when people are trying to do things like input fish, when they're taking part in tournaments. You know, I mean, that's the thing, is like that moment when you have that fish and the intent to release it, like how much time do you actually have to sit and fumble with an app, right? And so first of all, this is pretty user friendly to put the fish in. But then you guys have great support if there's any trouble. So can you tell us about both those things?
So I'll say one thing first, but
yeah.
So I don't know how recent now, but we recently changed our app a little bit so that when you're a brand new user and you register for the app, you know, you need to do that in advance of the day you're going to go fishing. It's just to make sure that it's going to be on your phone and working. And so you'll sign up in advance of the tournament. But as soon as you do, it automatically throws you into the practice tournament. And so you're in there and you can play with it and take photos with the app and make sure that you know how it works, because when it's game time and you're out in the lake, it's exactly like what you said. I don't even like apps. I don't want to be fumbling around with one. I want to know, what I like about the FishDonkey app is you just you get into your tournament, you get it on your screen, and then you go fishing. And when you're ready, you just hit enter a fish. It's just like hitting the camera button on your phone. It's going to open the camera immediately and you can take your photos. So like practicing that and making sure you have it set up right because the very first time it's going to ask you to input permissions and, you know, do I have permission to use your camera? Do we have permission to use your microphone for the videos, right? So if you set all that up in advance, when you get out fishing, you won't be fumbling around and you'll know how to use it. The only thing, like, we suggest you keep if it's raining or something, or if it's cold, you got to keep your phone warm. You know, you just have to take care of your phone, right? You have to keep it dry. Have a towel handy so you don't get fish slime all over your phone. But other than that, it's just like taking pictures with your phone. With the app, though.
Yeah. And in general, that's not a problem, because most people, like, if you're going to join a tournament that has a $250 entry fee, you are there to win big money. You're not there to donate your money. You want to try to win. And so people don't want to be at a disadvantage. They want to learn the app ahead of time. And so we have that practice tournament available all the time for anybody and everybody to join and see how the app works before they get a big fish in the boat and try to figure it out then. And then last year we did a bunch of updates to the app that help people with a help button in the digital live well where your fish entries are stored. So if their photos aren't showing up on the leaderboard, there's a help button there and all kinds of tips built in. Like, does it say sending? Then do this. Does it say waiting for media? You know, so
people don't realize like that they hit send and they don't have an internet connection because they're on the lake. And then they're like, hey, it didn't work. But it's not going to work until you get back and you have internet and you keep your phone, you know, open and on the internet. If you let it close, it doesn't work. So,
yeah. And we have tech support tips built into the welcome message now for every tournament and in the rules section as well. And we also have a built-in tech support number in the profile icon, so people can reach us if they're unsuccessful on their own or they're nervous. They can call us. Yeah. But Emily, you said something that made me think of, there's a big tournament in Wisconsin every year that opens on February 1st, and it's called the FishDonkey Open. And it's a huge walleye tournament on Green Bay. And the Swamp Donkey, I don't know if you've heard of Swamp Donkey, but he's a tackle bait shop. And it's the fastest filling tournament that we have ever had year after year after year. So it's 100, is it 150 boats?
It was over 150. It's like 155 or 152
like
or something.
150 something boats. And I think it's like a $300 entry fee. And you can have 4 people on your boat.
It filled in like an hour?
Maybe like 6 hours. I
no,
mean,
wait, no. This year was super fast.
Okay. But anyway, last year, or no, I'm sorry, the year before, people were calling the tournament director and complaining, are you going to delay the tournament because 6 inches of snow is predicted to come in Green Bay? And he's like, hell no, I'm not canceling the tournament. And then the weather report got as it got closer to the day, it changed, and they said, oh, it's only going to be 0 to 3 inches snow. And then on the actual day of the event, it snowed 14 inches while they were fishing on Green Bay. And it's the most incredible pictures we've ever gotten out of FishDonkey ever.
Wow.
The beginning of the day, they have like this much snow on the motor. And at the end of the day, it's like everything is packed down. And like, I mean,
gosh.
Yeah. Soda bottles are like frozen into their boats. And it was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, super fun.
Oh my gosh.
Super
you guys
fun
are
to
lucky to see all that. You're lucky to see all that.
Yeah, those tournaments are just highly successful, and like they're so in demand. I think part of it is that's Rob Korth, right? And he's just such a great tournament director. But also there's it's Fox River and there's fish and they bite. And then I think also it's like a 1-day event and it's a team event. So it's something like 3 or 4 people per boat.
Yeah, up to 4 people. And we don't see a lot of tournaments where you can have 4 people on the boat.
And there's something about that there's like a lot of camaraderie. Like you're all, going for it together. That you have 4 people on a team in a boat fishing. I think it just makes it so much fun. And you feel like you're always in it. It's a 1-day event. I wish we could do more events like that on bodies of water that are good, because it fills up so fast. All the people pay attention. Bonnie was talking a little bit about if you pay $450 to enter a tournament, you pay attention, but a lot of tournaments are like $10 and then you don't pay attention. You just, you just wing it, right? That's the opposite.
So, I mean, for the tournaments that maybe do get really exciting, is that possible as an outside viewer to be watching those scoreboards and things as they update?
Only from the website, not from the app. The app was really made for the anglers themselves. So you can't get into the app to watch it unless you made a payment to join the event. But you can do it from the website. Yes.
But so you can watch the leaderboards. It is kind of boring. Unless you actually know who's in it, because you'll just see the people moving positions on the leaderboard. You might not see their fish yet. It can be kind of a slow, boring day if you're going to watch the leaderboard.
So people do. They want to see their if their husband or their spouse or their boyfriend
or their
grandson is in a tournament. They absolutely do go to the website.
Grandma's killing it out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, you guys are talking about limited term events, maybe 1 day or a couple day events. Is there any seasonal events that are a longer time frame? And is there events that people can just join? Maybe that there's no money involved. It's just bragging rights.
Yeah.
Not
very
always. Not very many.
Okay.
Yeah, some of these high school ones for sure. But also as far as long tournaments, there's we have one that's this year we have 2 that we are running that last all year, the Master Angler tournaments. And so there's one that's set up just for Minnesota because we're in Minnesota, and there's 40 species in that. And so you try to catch a certain size of a fish, and that's considered a Master Angler. And I don't remember what all the sizes are, but I know it was above a 44-inch muskie. So you could record that and get a point, right? And those last all year. There's 40 species in them in the Minnesota one. And then there's one that's North America wide, which would include Canada, and it's got 61 species.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think next year we're going to change that up again. We're considering how we're going to do it, but there'll definitely be longer periods because in order to get these master angler tournaments, you want like 2 or 3 months. To me, it gets kind of tired after a whole year.
Yeah.
But like, people are really into catching those master angler fish. I mean, was it Lisa Dorrell? Lisa Dorrell traveled all the way to like Western Montana to catch a trout. Like, she ended up catching 2 different trout that qualified for the master angler, but she got those points. I mean, that was crazy.
That
Wow.
is cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. She's driven.
She is.
Pun intended.
Actually, that's a really good story because before we were doing this episode, I was kind of thinking about, well, okay, I don't think too much about an episode where I like forget good questions. I'll be honest with you, but I was thinking about you guys and then I was so excited and I was thinking about myself and FishDonkey. And here's why is because I will admit to you, I don't think I participate as much as I should. I feel terrible admitting that, but I don't know. I think honestly, I get like a little bit intimidated by tournaments because I'm a little bit, I don't know.
She's competitive.
Yeah. And there's only so much time to fish. So whatever. But the one thing in the tournaments that I've participated in, it has really, I guess, forced me or encouraged me, whatever is the best word, to try new water and to do new things. Because when I in the past have, I don't know, I've always been in like crappie tournaments and panfish. And so, that pursuit for the bigger fish. And so when I really break down the lakes that I have, like where do I really think that I can catch like a good fish, like whatever that is, there's always, what's the women's ice tournament that always goes on? The Ice
Queen.
The Ice Queen tournament. Okay.
Ice Queen. Yeah.
Because here's the deal is in that tournament, there is a crappie like section of this.
Yeah.
And the ladies that always win are all like 16-inch crappies and over for the whole stringer. And so that puts me in a position where I'm like, okay, I have lakes where maybe I know I can catch like 12s and those are good fish like all day long. Like I'm not putting that down. But then all of a sudden when that isn't enough and then you have to like really expand your horizons, like maybe that means trying new water. Maybe that means trying a new tactic. Maybe that means, I don't know, reaching out to a different angler. Go fish with me. I don't know. Who knows? But all kinds of things. And that is a really cool thing to, I guess, experience on an individual level.
Yeah. And so like, that's one of the things that I'm actually really excited about this winter. I'm running a tournament called the 7 Species Slam, and it starts the day after Christmas. It doesn't have to be an ice fishing tournament, but it will be. And it's your largest of 7 species that are pretty much Midwest centric. So there's crappie, perch, bluegill, walleye, northern pike, bass. That's 6. Oh, and the seventh in that one, is Cisco whitefish, and so that's a little tougher to catch. So you've got to plan out where are you going to be over these 11 days over the holidays. Where can I go and nab a Cisco or a whitefish? But that one is a lot of fun. And last year, Eric Scrivener won it. I think we had 35 people competing, and it wasn't like an enormous win. I could have been in it myself. I really like fishing in this one, but I couldn't catch a pike. I only caught a 21-inch pike, and I saved pike to the last 2 days because I thought, I'll just go catch one, and I couldn't catch one. I ended up being
start with the pike. Really.
I just thought I would get one accidentally while I was fishing, but I just got a small one. I had a 21-incher, but his fish, Eric won, and he had like a 10.5-inch perch, and he had a 23.75 walleye. He had a 9-inch bluegill. I think it was a 13-inch crappie, but they were all beatable. I mean, it wasn't that tough.
Yeah.
It's just you have to be able to catch all 7, I think, if you want to win. And that's a really fun one. So I love those, and it's exactly like what you were saying, Emily, where you think about, okay, where can I pick up this other species? It's a lot like, have you been watching those guys, The Outpost with Jay Seaman's channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot like that. I mean, they're going out they're doing it over like 4 days, but this will give you 11 days, so you can still have time off to do what you want. But, and go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and you never know, Emily. I think it was the Brainerd JC's ice fishing tournament 2 years ago. A high schooler won a truck because in their system it jumped. It wasn't like whoever gets the biggest fish is the winner and gets the best prize.
Mhm.
It was like the 250th fish in the whole leaderboard won the truck.
And then didn't the
like
clam trap attack, that's like a weekend long tournament. Wasn't that a high schooler that won the slam part of that? Was it one of the, was it like Caden
Yes.
Pingle?
Yes.
Was it him?
Maybe
Drew Pingle?
one of the Pingles.
Yeah, I think it was. I
Yeah.
think it was one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. We might have got that wrong, so I
what time is
apologize
it?
if I got the wrong
In 4
person.
minutes, Clam is announcing the clam trap attack.
Oh,
At 7:30, they're announcing that.
it's
Yeah.
7:31.
Yeah. So yeah, Clam is bringing the trap attack back, and
So
and that'll be
I
ice felt.
about that.
I think it's okay. Ice felt live nationwide, and then they're also, and kids can participate in that if they want to. But then this year they're also going to run a Clam Kids Trap Attack.
Oh,
And kids
fun.
can join the kids trap attack too. So
What's a kid? Like, how old is that?
I think it's 2 through 18.
Okay.
Nice.
And that'll be toothy. They have 2 species, and one of it'll be a combo species. So like any panfish, and then any toothy critter, which would be walleye, pike, and what am I missing? What else is toothy? Walleye, pike.
Muskie. I don't want to say it.
So
But
anyway,
wait, let's go back to this.
Anyway.
So 2 to 18. So if you're 1.5,
They have 2
you
divisions.
just gotta wait.
They'll have 2 divisions.
It's like I
Well,
can't.
I mean,
1.5,
if you're younger than 2, you probably don't have like
You don't have
motor
a
skills
or an ID.
to don't get me started. By the way, I
You might
refuse to have
have-
my picture taken at the airport.
Oh. The picture was taken. She was behind me.
But then they went through all of my bags. Of course, I got flagged then, and they went through all my bags. My picture taken, which they already have in my passport and my driver's license, and you have to be fingerprinted in order to get TSA pre-approval. So why do now they also need another picture? Forget it. I'm sorry.
You don't have to have it. I didn't know that. They
What
just
were we
take my
talking
picture
about?
and I just go through. They take my picture and I go through and I'm like, okay. And then the next thing I hear, Bonnie's like, do I have to have my picture
Like,
taken?
I
I'm
don't
like,
even do selfies. So you're not taking my
Going through
picture.
this process of it being put into the app.
Sorry.
yeah, they never looked at my bags or anything. I just went right through. Then I had to wait for Bonnie. So
Yeah, you had to wait a long time.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
That is so funny. Gosh, well, I mean, like as far as the app and the tournaments, it is clear that there is a huge range of things that are available, and it is cool to hear some of the new stuff that is coming out. Early this ice season, and well, for the rest of the ice season. I don't know. That's one of the things that I always look for. And the nice thing is that when people come to the expos, they actually can find you guys like at your booth because you guys actually set up. And so if they have questions about tournaments or things like that, is that a good place to come and talk to you about that?
That's the best place to come and talk to us. Yeah.
yeah, because we're not doing anything else. And, it's also like if you have questions about setting up a tournament, it's really handy just to be there and ask in person.
Yeah.
And that's nice because we like meeting people in person too.
Yeah.
And that's why we're there. So
Yeah. And if you've
we
never
don't sell anything.
if you've never used FishDonkey and you're curious but you don't really get it yet, we have our own phones right there and we can pull up lots of existing tournaments with photos and leaderboards very similar to whatever it is you're interested in looking at. So you get a really
we're just
visual.
there just to talk to people because we don't have fishing rods and stuff like that to sell in our booth. We do sell a measuring board if people really want one. We don't sell very many. We're just there to
we
talk.
have them there if
We're
you
just
need
there
them.
to meet
We
people.
have them there if you need them. Yeah.
Well, I was actually going to bring that up. I'm sorry to cut you off.
I was just going to say, and what a great place to pre-download the app for your future tournaments. Like you were saying, you wanted to have them pre-downloaded ahead of time to make sure they work. This is the perfect time when you are in person with customer service. You're not on the phone. You're not in email. You can just get it downloaded and be done with it.
Yeah, and you're not in the Northwest Territory.
Right.
Aaron Weeb tried to do that actually.
Funny.
That's tough.
Yeah, he got it done though.
Yeah. Lake of the Woods can be tough too. You gotta get in before you get out
Yeah, Rainy River
25
too.
miles on the
Yeah.
ice road.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I like that you guys brought up your bump boards though, because I was actually going to bring that up. Because to be honest, it is like the one tool, well, I guess other than your phone and the fish, right? But it's the one tool that you absolutely do need for this, because so often, people are nervous about like the cheating or the this or the that. And ultimately what it comes down to is kind of the bump board. So tell us a little bit about like what is important about measuring a fish and the bump board.
The bump board has to be legit. If you don't have a legit bump board, the equivalent of that is like not calibrating or zeroing out a scale in a weight tournament. So you have to have a decent mass manufactured, commercially made bump board with a 90-degree angle on it so that the nose of the fish can be bumped up against that. That's equivalent to zeroing out the scale. It has to have 1/4-inch increments on it. So that your tournament director can easily see the measurement. And there's always a section in the rules that will explain what type of bump board is acceptable. In general, it says no sliding boards, because sliding boards, if you don't snap it into place, you're getting extra measurement. So no sliding boards, no retractable boards, no boards that fold, no stickers, no soft tape measures. Sometimes there's exceptions to that, like for giant sturgeon, you might need a soft tape, or if you have a director for catfish that wants length plus the girth of the fish. You just have to know what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you need a hard, rigid board with a 90-degree angle, mass manufactured.
Yep. And Darren Choseth really is the one who kind of, I think, invented the way to measure sturgeon for one of these type of tournaments. And he allows a commercial measuring tape. The sturgeon has to be bumped against a vertical surface. So that's like your bump on the bump board. And then you lay the tape alongside the sturgeon, video the entire length of the fish and fold the tail down so that you can tell, how long it is. And he as far as I know, he invented that, how to do that. He taught us how to do that. And now we tell everybody else to do it with big fish, if it's a real big fish in big tournaments.
Big pike, nobody's expecting you to walk around with a bump board that's 50 inches long, 40 inches
a 60-inch bump board for your pike.
There's always a section, if it's a big fish tournament, there's always a section in the rules that addresses how are you going to measure a big fish, because a 20 or a 30-inch bump board is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So
unless you're under 2, section. You have to read that section.
Very funny.
Make sure you know how to measure fish, especially if you're going for a 40+ inch pike, know how to measure it.
Yeah. we really try to coach when we see
it'll be legit.
When we see a big fish tournament come through, we really try to coach the director. We'll send them 2 or 3 good video examples, like, hey, you really need to put, add this video link into your welcome message so that people know how to measure accurately your big fish. Because it's going to break your heart as a director if you need to start denying fish because people were idiots in the way that they
and it's not that. It kind of goes back to like what I said is like, if you only paid $10 to enter, you don't care. You just go out and fish, right? And then you try to figure it out on the spot. And then you're like, oh man, how do I measure this 40-inch pike? What's a good way to do this? And people just try to improvise, right? But if
they line their fishing pole up against it and it's just
measure their arm alongside it, or I don't know what, all kinds of things.
We try to curb all of that from happening.
Yeah. That the interesting thing. So one of the things, I keep going back to these master angler type where you get a point if you exceed it. But what's kind of nice about that is, we have a free one right now for all the students in Minnesota. I didn't mention that, but it's free for them to join. And the reason I thought of it is because this kid caught this sturgeon. It was enormous. And he was trying to measure it and he couldn't. And he was with his dad and he's actually in the river holding it. He's got measuring tape, and it's like all folded up and it's like all over, but you know, he's holding it in the water trying to measure it. And I was like, man, his sturgeon was actually so big that, you know, we could tell from the little bit of time that he was holding the measuring device that it exceeded it by like 2 feet. So you just, as long as the master angler, it's like, okay, you exceeded the length, you get 1 point. So he proved that. But if you're in a tournament where it's total inches and you have to keep track, then you're going to want to try to get every 1/4 inch, because normally they're going to measure to 1/4 inches, and you're going to want to try you'll have to follow the directions really closely with the mouth closed and every to a T in order to get as much as you can out of it and improve your chances to win.
That's awesome. I really like those stories, actually. That's
You do it again. You kind of dance like that.
I do this.
That's funny. I think Josh actually has a little video pulled up here that he was hoping to share. So he's just kind of lining it up. But he was fishing yesterday, and so he was doing some bump boarding, and it's just the bump board that you guys offer. And so,
oh, thank you.
Look at that. That's awesome.
Nice. That's a nice crappie.
Yeah.
Hey.
yeah. So just for people who might be unfamiliar with that, it's just really that easy. So I don't know.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
You bet.
Was that a 14 incher?
13 3/4.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice fish.
Very nice.
We can round up.
They're all back in the lake, so it's longer now than it was yesterday, I think.
Hey, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
What is the most remote place you've ever been fishing?
I would say like somewhere in the Lake of the Woods is probably my most remote.
On ice or open water?
Open water.
I was fishing in boundary waters when I was like much, much younger, but I can't say I was like real fishing. I was like really pretty young then. 2 years ago, we were in Cascade. That was pretty hard to get to, but I don't know if that's like super remote. Otherwise, I don't know. When we were in Mexico, we were pretty far into the mangroves. I don't know.
Like remote, like from all civilization, or remote from like cities? Because like I've caught trout out in Nevada at state parks, but there's like campgrounds there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Was that pretty?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty. That was in 2008 or 9.
Yeah.
I was out there with the Conservation Corps building trails for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Nevada, you got a lot of different terrain available in the state.
Yeah, that's just straight up desert and scorpions and.
That's where you go fishing?
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there was the reservoir, and then there was a stream, and we were done working for the day, so I just was doing a little bit of fishing. That's where I caught my first rainbow, actually, ever in my life.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing that they have trout in there when it's so deserty. I mean,
Right.
I want to go fishing with you guys. We need to go fishing with them. I
Yeah.
want to go fishing with you guys.
Yeah, we should set something up for sure.
I really like fishing where we don't see other people.
Mhm.
I almost, like, if I see other people, I almost leave. Which sounds bad, but I just like fishing in areas where there isn't anybody else around. And last winter, we were out in the lake, and I was with my nephew, and we set up the pop-up shelter. And when you're down by the Twin Cities, I guess there's crime, right? Like people could steal your things. But we were in this remote location, and I was like, well, let's just leave the tent set up, and we'll just leave all our gear in here, and I'll leave the heat on until it goes out. And then, we'll come back tomorrow, and hopefully no one takes our things. And my nephew goes, well, first of all, they'd have to be able to find this place. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. There's not even snowmobile tracks here.
We actually have some pretty decent semi-remote locations. We're just south of the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest, and the Forest Service actually has some pretty decent roads and trails that go to some cool little bodies of water. And honestly, Wisconsin's a funny place. Being a Minnesota native over a decade ago now, but it's funny because a lot of those lakes that we have by us are a lot different fishing than what people normally do. Like, I think now that we live a little bit further north, like we've seen a lot more like tip downs and a little bit more pan fishing. But like a lot of the state is like, pike and perch. Like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go catch a bunch of pike with tip ups and sit and drink beer, or I'll put tip downs down for crappies and perch. And so, I don't think we run into a whole lot of people that we're actually competing with, as far as fishable space. And it's not odd to go on a Friday night or a Sunday afternoon or something and not see anybody. Where there should be people out there. I'm always surprised. I don't know why after 10 plus years that I'm always surprised there's nobody out there, but I get surprised.
I'm just saying, if I go out on Pelican Lake when the weather's bad enough, there's nobody out there.
Like on Sunday, we were on Pelican Lake. And we were the only boat, 3,500 acres to ourselves.
So I have a suspicion that sometimes the reason there's no one fishing by me is because there's no fish there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I have to say this has been a ton of fun, and this is just a part of what you get to experience at the expos, because chances are we will be standing at your table talking about these exact same things.
Hope so.
But for people who are looking for the tournaments, for people who are looking to get questions answered, if you're looking for bump boards, all that kind of stuff, you guys will still be at the expo coming up, and so we are really looking forward to that.
Yep, we'll be at the St. Paul show and also the new one in
the Wisconsin Ice Fishing Expo.
Yeah, awesome.
Right
there.
Yeah. Perfect.
Because I didn't have my glasses on.
Oh,
sorry.
We told you wouldn't have to read anything.
And if you missed the first part of this episode, make sure that you share this episode. You put a comment in the comment section. Because what are we giving away?
2 tickets to the expo, actually.
So we have authorization. We talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago, and we got some authorization to give away a pair of tickets this week, and a pair of tickets. Oh, sorry. No, a pair of tickets this week. And so if you guys like, share, and comment on this video, you'll be entered, and we will be picking next Monday before our next episode.
Well, I guess our next episode
is Tuesday, but we'll be,
Well, so pick. Running it through Monday at midnight, I guess.
Yeah.
Then Tuesday is when we'll pull that. So we are looking forward to everybody. If you have questions or comments, I imagine that's something that we can still connect with you guys at the expo. So that's going to be just fine. But otherwise, I don't know. I'm looking forward to somebody winning tickets. I wish it was me.
Yeah. So, Bonnie, Darren, do you guys have Facebook and all that kind of cool stuff for people to follow you?
We sure do.
Absolutely.
Yep. Facebook, Instagram. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Website.
We have a Facebook group and a Facebook.
It's FishDonkey.
page.
Just look for FishDonkey. Yeah.
All one word. If you're downloading the app, you think the space and fish and donkey wouldn't make a difference, but it's all one word, and that makes it easier to search for because a million things will pop up if you only type in fish with a space. So FishDonkey, all one word.
Perfect.
And that's also, way down here listed right there. You go. Your username has that right there, so it's easy to see. And thank you guys so much for being here this evening to talk about all of this. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We're glad you guys do this.
We love you guys.
Great. Yeah. Good job.
We love you guys too.
Yeah. And to the people at home, we love you guys too. That is always a big part of the fun. And with that, looking forward forward to seeing everyone on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.